landscape, and this is also going to introduce us to SAP as we know it. But this time around, we are going to be looking at S4HANA. Of course, I've said in so many occasions that the difference between these two are not much, but we're going to actually see how that happens. Okay, so we're just going to do a brief for those who are new to SAP. Esther, are you there? Hello, Esther. Esther, are you there? Okay, so just continue. For those who are new to SAP, it's also be a very good opportunity to learn more. For those who are old, maybe you would grab one or two things, because this is actually S4. All right, so remember, you can always visit my YouTube channel to get detailed. I have more training. I have a training on introduction to S4. I have a lot more you can basically help yourself on. So please subscribe to the channel and help yourself. Okay, so I want to ask, when you hear about the word landscape, what comes to your mind?
Foundation.
Foundation. Esther, when you hear landscape, land and scape, what comes to your mind? Patience, what comes to your mind? Patience, are you there?
I am here.
When you hear the word landscape,
Landscape SAP is just like, where SAP let me say the program takes place from the foundation. You know that the landscape is based on development parts, quantity system parts, or the quality system parts and production. That is all what I have in my head when you talk about all parts together in SAP.
Yeah, okay. Esther, are you there?
Yes, maybe design, the way it is put together from beginning. I don't know. I'm just saying. That's just what comes to mind.
No, that's the idea. The idea is for you to say what you can say. Okay, so yeah, landscape is everything about SAP basically, from ground to up. Right, so how it's designed, how it's built, how you use it, what is like, everything about SAP basically. Okay, so let's see what it is. So let's look at the aim of this course, right? Let's see what we want to achieve here in the next 1 hour. At the end of this training, participants will be given the foundational knowledge about SAP, the various system landscapes, the concept of ERP, and the definition of various concepts, right? So you're going to get that deep dive into SAP, so that when you go out and you are talking about SAP, you don't just talk configuration and T codes. You should be able to say a lot more about the system landscape you're using. And so before we talk about SAP, we need to look at the word ERP. Like, does anybody know the full name of the acronym?
Enterprise resource planning.
Enterprise resource planning. So when they say, okay, let's continue. I'll get to that question. So before SAP, what was it like? Like, how did it evolve? And when you hear the word ERP, what comes to your mind? Now, basically, the summary of all this is that before now, we had different systems apart. For example, you have a finance software like Sage, you had a logistics software, you had materials management software, you had HR software, you had inventory management software. You had all these softwares in different parts. You know, even within the organization, they were not integrated. They were standalones doing different things in different departments. So it was difficult for you to see the holistic view. To do that, you have to bring all the pieces and probably do something like a consolidation, but it was very, very difficult. All right. So in the early 90s, we have people who, first of all, designed the concept called ERP, the acronym called ERP, right? And the idea was, of course, all these things started from the manufacturing process, and of course, and finance. So the ERP solution were focused on automating back office functions that were not directly affecting customer subject. So before now, ERPs, like I said, sorry, were basically handling of different functions in different departments. Right. So the idea of an integrated approach is what we experienced in the early years, right? The coming of SAP and other ERP platforms. So the idea of ERP is actually the first word there is enterprise. So in enterprise, you should have a company, you should have a business. Resources, there are different resources within the entity, within the enterprise. You need a software that is number one that has the entity concept in accounting, or basically can present financials for a business. Number two, you needed a software that could do planning, not just historical data, but can do future planning and analysis. Then we had, then you have different resources within an organization. You have human capital resource, you have human resources, you had equipment, you have plants, you had labor, you had every other thing, and you had planning. So the essence of this when you say a software is an ERP, it means that the software is able to plan, galvanize, integrate all the resources within the organization. That's really what ERP is all about. A software that is able to plan and execute functions using the resources within an enterprise, right? So that's actually what ERP is. So when they ask you, so by now you should be knowing whether SAP is an ERP or whether it's just a software, because there's a difference between an ERP and a software. A software is built to handle one particular function. An ERP is built to really look at a holistic process and integrate all those functions together. And ERP, let's look at the functions. It supports integrated business approach, like I have said. So tries to integrate all the processes within an organization, improves capital planning, and helps execute organizational plans and strategies. Of course, very important. Helps speed up decision-making process. Once they are integrated, an information flow within each department, decision-making is easier and analysis is better. Help extend business network, wider domains, expand the product and services to reach. Of course, once this information is integrated, you can better serve your customers. You can have enough information, you can have enough analysis to, support your customer operations. Identify operational risk to improve governance. Yeah, so part of the system is to also check duplication of functions, check different departments, and also help audit the system. Protect against organizational data breach. If it's integrated and people have different access to different things, it's very difficult for one person to hold the company to hostage. So it also helps in providing some kind of security. Then, of course, make your organization adaptable to rapid change. Once it's integrated, once the business processes are very organized, when change comes, it's easy to pass that change through all the processes. Give long-term profitability by providing means to increase customer base. So all this is tied to really providing better services for the customer and also making money, improving on the profitability of the business. Right. So let's look at some of the functional areas within the ERP. You have finance, which is the core foundation. You have HR, which is human capital development, which is HCM, which is success factor in SAP. You have customer relationship management, which is can't remember the module now, CRM. You have sales and distribution, which handles orders, delivery, shipment, and invoicing. You have logistics and warehouse, which is most likely your materials management, part of materials management, which we call warehouse management, WM. We have manufacturing and materials management, MM. We have supply chain, also part of MM. We have business intelligence that analyzes data. We have a lot more. We have a lot more, but these are the ones that are very core to functional areas. So, as a consultant, you fall within these functional areas. You might probably be in finance, in sales and distribution, in any of the functional areas, but because we have finance and sales and distribution in this meeting. Now, question. So I have a question for us. Is SAP an ERP, and why do you think it's an ERP? Esther. Esther, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
So,
hello.
2 questions. Yes.
Okay, the first one is it an ERP? Yes, it is. Why? Because it integrates different areas. So it's not like a standalone software that can do just a thing. It can do several things all put together. So it's like an integrated system.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's apt. Any other person wants to try? Okay.
Yes, it is. Yeah, because there are features that qualify a system to be called an ERP, and SAP surpasses such features, right?
Okay.
Such as integration, real-time, on-time and real-time, data processing, right?
Okay.
And it's technological driven.
Yeah.
These are features that can be embedded into any system to be qualified as an ERP. So SAP, in fact, is one of the best ERP in the world today.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Very much. Patience?
Yeah, SAP, of course, is an ERP system, and why? It helps businesses to integrate their business processes in the organization. Yeah. It can be used also in private and public sector, and also especially give this analytics.
Yeah.
For customers, for companies also to plan ahead of their business processes and everything. So it's a very good system that integrates a lot of things, and you have it also that's why it's called also business as a software, or a business service or something.
A service.
Yeah. So it's a very good. Yeah, from finance to controlling and HR. Also sales distribution, supply chain management. You also have it also in material management and production planning also. And it's very, very good. So customer can tailor their own processes using maybe ABAP. Now different organizations use it, like automotive, oil industries. So it's very, very, very good.
All right. Thank you very much for the point. Very, very elaborate. Yeah. So yes, SAP is like more than an ERP. I think ERP is now leaving the space of just integrating and providing customers. ERP is now going to using advanced technology like AI and robotics to really predict. So like I was telling somebody he was trying to ask me because he's doing things like Sage and QuickBooks. So he was trying to tell me that he doesn't see any difference. I was like, I say software has gone past just preparing financials. ERPs are now doing things like predicting the future. They are using they are also predicting customer behavior, predicting sales, predicting, business performance, right? So it's gone past just to give you financials or to track sales, and it's beyond that now. It's giving a lot more flexibility into managing businesses. So that's what SAP brings. So I can say yes, it's even more than an ERP. Thanks guys for your contributions. Okay, so let's look at SAP and how it started, and so that you can also have an insight and appreciate that. SAP is more than 40 years or nearly 40 years. I think, it was started in 1972 in Waldorf, Germany. And so, well, you know what?
Please.
I know you're a German. I know you're a German.
Waldorf.
Waldorf.
Not like English. Waldorf.
Waldorf.
Yeah, that is a Waldorf is a village. It means village in German. Yeah, so
okay.
Waldorf. That's they call it Waldorf, and it's close to Mannheim.
Oh yeah. Okay, so when you hear the word SAP, do you think it's an acronym or is the name of the software basically?
It's an acronym. I think it's a software application product. I think it's called software. Yeah, it's in German software application Produkte. That is the real name in SAP.
Yeah, that's the German pronunciation.
So it's a software application Produkte. That's how they call it, software application product.
Okay, Chiku, do you have any? Do you have the Canadian version?
No, it's the Igbo version that I have.
I said it, Igbo.
Okay. It's an acronym, right? Yeah. So it represents systems, applications, and products.
Yeah. So that's software. We will find out. So yes.
Good. It's systems.
Yeah.
Systems.
Yes, it's systems.
Okay.
Systems, applications, and products.
Okay, that's
yes.
Systems. I think Germans they call it software application.
Please, we don't pronounce it as SAP.
No, SAP.
Yes. We never pronounce. If you hear somebody say SAP, know that person is relatively new. He's a newborn baby. We call it SAP. We don't call it SAP.
Yeah. But in German, they call it SAP.
SAP.
So when you hear somebody call it SAP, that is the German word, because A is R in German, SAP.
Yeah.
So they call it German, just hear them call it SAP. So you just know it's the company. SAP in Waldorf.
I see. Yeah, in Waldorf. Not Waldorf.
No, in my company, there's some that just come from Nigeria. If they pronounce words, so we laugh.
Yeah.
Like it's called Cal and Mine. So one Nigerian girl has just, I think the Yoruba was Kalamin. I said, yes, Kalamin. Yes, Kalamin. So when they're not at Kalamin, this place doesn't exist yet. Cal and Mine. Cal and Mine. I say, if you call it like that, you ask people, they won't answer you. They just say, we don't know what you're saying. So you just have to call it SAP.
SAP.
Yeah, SAP.
Yeah. Nice. Now it sounds even better.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving us the German tips.
No problem. You're welcome.
Yeah. So it has, over the years, it has grown to become the world premier provider of client and server business solutions, for which it is well known today. Before you hear ECC and S4, there was what we call ARU3. So ARU3 was existing before ECC, and only currently now we call S4 HANA. So there are different versions, right? We have the ARU3, we have the ECC. ECC has different versions. We have ECC EHP7, EHP6, EHP5, and all that. Then we have SAP S4 HANA. Maybe in the future we'll have S5 and X6 and the rest of them. But for now, the current version that is fully cloud enabled but can also have on-premise version is called SAP S4 HANA. Now, SAP is a world leader, of course, in ERP solutions, no doubt. Behind SAP, you would see the likes of Workday, Oracle, Sage, and the rest of them. But as of now, it's one of the top players, and it has. I think the opportunities in SAP is more than any ERP in the world, right? We even have Microsoft Navisions and the rest of them, but SAP is really a very, very big organization, and it is used by about 80 to 90% of the what do they call them? Fortune 100 companies in the world. So think about the big organizations, Total, Shell, Chevron, multinationals that are world dominated. They all are in the SAP platform. So it's a good thing for us consultants, and it's also opportunity for us to improve on our skills and get better opportunities. Okay, so before we go into S4, we need to understand ECC, because we might find ourselves in roles that are not S4. We might get job opportunities within the ECC platform, right? So ECC is called ERP Central Component. That's what is called ECC. And ECC is 100% on premise. So before S4, ECC is the version that companies are now migrating from. So SAP has given them the deadline until 2017 or so to migrate from the ECC version to the S4 HANA version. But the ECC is
it 2027?
27.
Oh, I thought 2030 now.
27 they will stop support, but 30 they will really end it. So I think this is in various phases.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, before now, it was doing, the SAP will know it's ECC that has grown and innovation has taken over, and we now have the S4. So it does everything the ERP does. It provides information in real time, updates business processes and the rest of them. Typically used by medium and large scale companies, and has different kinds of industries using it. So let's look at S4HANA at a glance. SAP S4HANA was released on the 3rd of February 2015 as a ERP business suite. It is optimized for the SAP HANA in-memory database. This helps large enterprise exercise transaction and real-time assessment of business information. Now, basically, ECC is built on the cloud. Majorly, the services they are driving is cloud-based. Another thing you also need to know, S4HANA. Another thing you need to know is that S4HANA was running on the hard drive. ECC runs on the RAM. That's why it's called an in-memory database. So processing information in S4 is, according to them, about 100 to 1,000 times faster than ECC. So it was a major high performance system. Now, when you hear the word S4 HANA, HANA there stands for High Performance Analytical Appliance. So also know that this is an acronym. It's not just HANA, right? HANA stands for High Performance Analytical Appliance. And S4 is the business suite. S4 means business suite 4. So we are currently in the 4th business suite. Hopefully we'll get to S5, the 5th business suite. S4 HANA means the 4th version of SAP Business Suite, but it's designed to run only on the S4 HANA database. So S4 cannot run on any other database outside the S4 HANA, outside the HANA system. So HANA is the database, what we call the in-memory database. So I'm going to give you an example. Your phone, for example, gets network from a database. That's why any call or anything, like I always thought, there's nothing you delete that completely leaves your phone. Anything you delete or anything you do on phone is stored in a central database somewhere. Nothing you delete ever leaves it will leave your phone, but it's stored in a database somewhere. You get? So nothing, so don't think if you delete anything, that's if there is a case in the court and they need to retrieve all your data, they can actually do that because it is stored in the database of your phone. So in SAP, HANA is the database where all the information that are being posted are saved. Why the S4 is the more like the server, more like the interface that you use to impute those data. Now, we are going to see that structure as we move on. So what is the advantage in S4HANA? I'm just going to run through this. When you get the slide, you can take your time. Number one, improved interface. Of course, we have the new Fiori interface concept where you don't necessarily need to cram all the transaction codes. We would have an experience with Fiori as we move, in this class. So it helps you do your job faster and gives you access to important information. Increased performance. Of course, SAP S/4HANA is in-memory database, enables users to access their data in real time. So when they ask you what are the changes between, Okechukwu say he went for an interview and they were telling him, one of the major changes is the interface. Another change is the performance. It runs on an in-memory database, unlike ECC that runs on the hard drive. This runs on the RAM of the system. So it's an in-memory database. Another thing is for flexibility. It's available in various forms. You can use your phone. You can use your mobile devices or different applications to access SAP. Unlike ECC that is just run on your desktop, and of course you have to be in the office. Okay, so let's look at some of the differences. This is a major interview question, and we're just going to look at them briefly, right? So the first thing is ECC is on-premise. S/4HANA has 3 deployment options. I taught you last time. You can deploy in the cloud, you can deploy on-premise, and you can have a hybrid. But ECC is just on-premise. That's one of the major differences. ECC runs on database like Oracle, Informix, DB2. SAP S/4HANA runs on HANA database. ECC cannot run on HANA. S4 only runs on the HANA database. No other application can run on the HANA database. Why ECC runs on platforms, database like Oracle, Informix, and the rest of them. Another thing you should know is another major difference is the processing, the speed at which SAP processes, S4 processes information. Now, in S4HANA, the online analytical process and the online transaction process, which is OLAP and OLTP, are they are joined together in ECC. But in S4HANA, you separate them. They are really existing on their own. So what this helps to do is to analyze transactions at very high speed, and it processes transaction at very high speed and analyzes transaction at a very high speed. To do this in ECC, it takes a lot of time. Processing data and analyzing takes a lot of time. But in S4, we have these two. The in-memory database gives you the opportunity to do OLAP and OLTP functions together. In ECC they were separated, but in S4 is now embedded in one process. So because they are together, the speed at which you process information is faster. And of course, that will lead to what we call the new table format. In SAP, we have what we call the universal journals. We have the compactability and simplicity view. What happened was that SAP S4 relegated or deleted a lot of tables. In ECC, you have a lot of tables handling different transactions at the database end, but S4 scrapped a lot of those tables. You have everything in one view. We call it a single view. So you have you can view all your data in one spot. We call it the simplicity view and compactability views. So what they did is that because they were SAP relegated a lot of all these tables, database tables that was entered in ECC, it now made the system lighter. So once you have just a table, which we call the universal journal, that processes all this information at the same time, it made S4 lighter. And since the software is light, speed and accuracy is now achieved. But in ECC, you had these tables existing differently, and there were a lot of tables. So S4 tried to put them together in one table, which we call the universal journal, and it actually applied the concept of simplicity and compactability views to handle those tables. So you have one table now that can give you access to a lot of information at the go. Instead of in ECC, you have to jump from one table to another trying to get access to that information you're looking for. So these are some of of course, analytics is key in S4HANA. S4HANA has a separate module that handles analytics. I think it's SAC or something like that. So it does analysis at different levels of the business. If you look at, for example, if you look at profitability analysis in FI, you would actually understand how it can analyze product and business and performance basically at the same time. So these are and of course, we have talked about the interface, Fiori, how you can really enjoy your experience with S4. So these are some of the changes that have happened and why companies are now moving from ECC to S4HANA. So guys, do we have any questions? I hope when you're asked these questions, you can remember these points. One, you must mention Fiori. You must mention universal tables. You must mention analytics. These are very, very important points that cost a lot of change, or the few changes we see in S4HANA. So maybe when you get this video again, you go back and refresh your minds. Any questions at this point? Okay, so we're going to, okay. Okay, yeah, so this is just a few points about the difference. You can read this up when you have your time. Okay, S4HANA is SAP's newest ERP product, and SAP ECC is the immediate predecessor. SAP ECC is still in widespread use, as many companies have been reluctant to move to S4, largely because doing so is a massive undertaking. SAP S4 HANA is not simple, is not simply an upgrade of ECC, but instead a complete rewrite of it meant to take advantage of HANA. So because the database was changed, the database structure, the tables, the views were all changed. It's like they said here, it's more than just upgrade. It's actually, they rewrote the code in S4 from scratch. So they started this project from scratch. And that's why when you're migrating from ECC to S4, all the codes need to be rewritten in S4 HANA. Right. So it was a massive project that changed the landscape of SAP and put it at the pedestal where it is now. So take note of that, guys. So we have looked at the advantages of ERP. It applies here. So you can look at the key benefits when you have time. Saves time saving, integration, reduce IT workloads. I've talked about that. Improve work processes and productivity, enhance functionality to support innovative business models, improve total cost of ownership, move CapEx and OpEx, operating expenses, functional savings, goals and revenues, simplify administrative with real-time data, customer satisfaction. So these are just in a nutshell some of the benefits of S4. Please go through when you have this document. The SAP S4 HANA deadline 215, we're looking at also 2027. The deadline is approaching, and of course, this approach is causing a lot of job opportunities within the SAP system all over the world, especially in Nigeria, in Europe, in the US, and in Canada. The job opportunities for SAP is massive, right? So that's why I said countries like US and Europe, US especially, is basically doing migration from ECC to S4 HANA. All right, so those are because most companies they are already on ECC. We only have few companies that are doing greenfield projects. Most of the projects we have are brownfields, and it's also good to have that at the back of your mind that the opportunities is very much. So for SAP modules, we have a lot of modules. We have finance, we have financial supply chain management, we have controlling, we have materials, we have SD, depending on where your interest is, right? So this is just to expose you to, we have more modules, a lot more. So these are the key modules and also for your knowledge sake. So activities involved in SAP FI module, of course, we're going to look at the org structure, the global settings, the general ledger accounting, tax configuration, payables, receivable, asset accounting, integration with SD and MM. Yeah, so but we'll look at the other modules as we move on. Career in SAP. So we have lots of career opportunities. You can be an ABAP person who does more of the technical work. You can be a functional consultant like FI, CO, SD. You can be a technical architect, a solution architect, a portal consultant, which is Fiori. So there are a lot of opportunities. You can be a support consultant. You can be an end user support guy. You can be a business analyst. A lot of opportunities. Now, if you want to grow, there are major companies in SAP that deliver SAP. We have SAP Labs, Accenture, Tata, IBM, Cognizant, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, Deloitte, KPMG. So these are companies that actually are major companies that provide opportunities if you actually want to. When you kickstart your career in SAP, there are lots of that. So let's look at the standard landscape, and would round this up as much as possible. Please take note of this. This is a very, very important information, because when you go to projects, nobody's going to be explaining these things to you. They expect that you know, right? In standard SAP project system, is divided into 3 environments, or what we call landscape: the development system, the quality assurance, and production. These are the 3 landscapes, and I've explained that previously. The development system is where most of the implementation work takes place in your explore phase, in your realize phase. In your realize phase, you do a lot of the first level development in the product system, in the development system. The next is the quality assurance system, is where all the final testing is conducted before moving the transport to the production system. So first level of testing happens in the dev system, second level of testing happens in the quality system, and that's the final testing before you now move transport to the production system. The production system is where all the daily business activities occur. Yeah, it's where all the daily activities occur. It's also the client that all the end users use to perform their daily jobs. So the question is, how do you know the server you're in? When you get to a project, another question you should ask is this question: please, which server? I mean, what servers are available? What is the dev system? What's the server for the dev system, or the QA, or the prod, so that you don't go and enter information in the wrong server. So it's also very important you ask about the server and the systems that you're going to be using to do your work. Please take note of these 3 points. To all companies, the productions. Yes.
Sorry, just to buttress what you said about server, let me just share a 1-minute experience.
Okay.
I was working with Oceanic Bank. Then they were implementing SAP. In fact, I was part of the team, right?
Okay.
Now, after the implementation, whatever, I was, doing testing. I was doing down payment. I never knew that I was doing it on a production system.
Wow.
I created a down payment of how many millions? Went to my August inbox.
Hey.
He called me, sorry, Kibe, is this fraud or seriously? I never knew that I was on production system.
Yeah.
Almost, in fact, they almost wanted to give me credit, if not for the integrity and how well my boss, knew about me. Seriously, I would have put that, because approval levels, it went straight to. In fact, the team jumped in because he's above his approval. He went to the CF of Oceanic Bank.
Wow.
So I agree with you. When we get into any project, let's see the environment that we are in is key.
Yeah, very, very important. You need to confirm and reconfirm and make sure you're not in the wrong environment. Very, very important. Thank you for sharing, Okechukwu. Please, let's share our experiences important to our learning. To all company, production systems should only contain transports that have passed all the tests. So you can take note of this. The production system should only contain transport. Like I said, different configuration has their different transport customization code. So it's only when you have tested those and they are fine, you transport them to the prod system. You do transport in parts, probably 2, 2, 3, 3, depending on the ones that have been tested and concluded. We're going to see that as we move on. Right. So one of the environments you're going to see is what we call the client. Sometimes, they don't call it server, they call it the client. Which client are you? Right. So client is just a server. It's just it's a unique organizational structure that has more than one company code. So everything you're doing in SAP is under a client. So client is the highest hierarchy in the SAP system, right? So client is you have a server. Inside a server, you have a client. Then under the client, you have other functions. So, but in the organizational structure, client is the highest hierarchy. Also, we need to look at these two different customizing and configuration. There are two different acronyms, there are two different words that mean different things to a consultant. Configuration is to design the system to meet the needs of the business by using existing data. Customizing is when we customize or adapt the system to your business requirements, which is the process of mapping SAP to your business process. Customizing is about ensuring that the business process is mapped with SAP's process. Configuration is to design the system to meet client needs. So in configuration, you can have part of configuration is customizing. Like I explained earlier, if a particular SAP standard system or document does not meet the client requirements, you have to now customize. So an extended way of configuration is customizing. So once it is not within the scope, you also have to customize. Okay, yes, Esther, you can go on.
The configuration and customizing of this, I don't know what I'll call it now. System. Is it a system? Is it a part of the duty or the role of the end user or the?
No, this is the role of functional consultant.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a little bit more technical, but the user has a lot of work. I think where the work of the consultant stops, that's where the work of the user starts, because user does the day-to-day work. The consultant just makes sure the system is ready for use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
so when yes.
Then I saw the other on the other. There's a slide that showed that how to create customer, create a ledger and all that. At some point, will there be like a demo of how to do this?
Yeah, sure. Now, sure. That's where we're going to.
Okay, thank you.
That's where we're going to. Yeah. So we're going to see how it works, and also see the end user side, and see how the report looks like. So we have people who are super users. They have known end user role to the extent that they can support end user. So if you're within the organization, you should aspire to be a super user. A super user is very close to being a consultant, while an end user can focus on just one functionality. Now, industry solution. Now, SAP is available in virtually all industries you can think about. Banking, chemicals, mining, oil and gas, any industry. And it has its own customized system. So SAP comes with pre-configured system. What does it mean? It means that irrespective of your any industry you want, when you approach SAP, they give you a system that has been pre-configured. It means that they have a system you can leverage on to set up your own that has basically all the key configurations you need to set up yours. And SAP will always advise. Remember one of the 5 golden rules, to follow the standard process that SAP has. Esther, you want to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay. So we have the 3-tier architecture. We have talked about them. We're going to look at them now: the database, the application, and the user interface. So this is for the technical theme, but it's also good we know about it. We have 3 layers within the system, within the landscape. Let's say within production, or within QA, or within development system, we have 3 architectural layers. The first layer is the presentation layer, which is what end users see, which is what we call the Fiori. Fiori is the presentation layer. That is what gives you, when that's what you see once you log in. That's your presentation layer. The application layer is the S4, the business suite you're using. The business suite you're using, or the module, the kind of the, how do I put it now? The suite you're using, that's S4. Or if it's in ECC, EHP6, the version, that's the right word. The version of SAP you're using is the application layer, because that's the brain. That's where the business processes are. That's where the instructions are processed when you give instructions to the system. The third layer is the database layer, which is the HANA. So HANA is the database layer. S4 is the application layer. Fiori or GUI is the presentation layer. So these are the components that make up, these are the architecture that make up a system, a landscape in SAP. But it is also important you have this for knowledge sake, so that you can understand the build of SAP. It gives you that this knowledge help you to understand the kind of ERP you're using. So the ERP has 3 layers.
Sorry to cut you off. This presentation layer, you said it's the GUI, that is the graphical user interface, right?
Yes, it's a presentation layer. S4, which is the version, is the application layer. HANA is the database layer. This is still showing ECC, but I'm just trying to interpret them for you.
Sorry, we can also say.
Okay, so we have talked about.
Oh, just sorry. We can also say the presentation layer for S4HANA. There, you can also see
Fiori.
Fiori. User experience.
Yes.
User experience,
yes,
right?
Fiori is a presentation layer.
Yeah, okay.
I've talked about project life cycle, so we're not going to go into this. We've talked about the Activate methodology well enough. So we're now going to be looking at, we're now going to be going into SAP, and we'll just do a first login, and I'll just take you around the system and explain some of those points. Then we are actually just going to look at some terminologies and just define them, and we will call this a day. Right, before, okay, so I'm going to log into the system and we'll try and go around the interface. SAP, ECC, and S4, like I said, no major difference, right? The interface will also show you. I'll also try to get to my SAP S4HANA, the Fiori app, to see if I can access that immediately. So basically, you have an icon here that looks like this. If you get to a system or a company, you just look for the icon. You double click on it, it will want to connect you to the server, right? So this is the server I'm working on. It's local for now. It's not in the cloud. It's just local. I'm accessing it through a local server. Now I talked to you about the client, right? So this is the client we are accessing. So that's why I said, when you log into an SAP, when you find yourself in a project or in a work environment, you're newly employed, please ask them which client are you going to be working on. This client is the development client. For this system is client 400. For another system, it might be 700 or 100. So it's important you know the client you're logging into. Inside this client, you will now have the enterprise structure where you have the company codes and other information. Then you have to provide your username and your password. So this is your first login into SAP. So In case you have not seen this before, this is what SAP looks like. This is S4. It's not so different from ECC. In fact, the interface. This is and
So
this
I have a question. Is this is S4HANA? I thought it is
yes.
SAP. S4HANA is using the Fiori app, right?
It uses both.
It uses both.
Yes,
Okay.
both.
Because one I know is, I thought this one for me was the graphical user interface. That's the one we use for the ECC, that is ERP6 that I did for sales distribution. Then I did S4HANA for Fiori app, this user experience.
Yeah, the configuration, your configuration, you need to do it in your GUI.
Yeah, the configuration, we do it here when you go inside this command, we put Pro and we go to
This is the
customize.
Fiori.
This is Fiori app.
Interface.
Okay. Did you get this demo through the SAP best practice, or how did you get the demo? This demo version.
I subscribe for this.
Okay.
This is paid, yeah.
It's paid. I thought the demo is free.
No, this is not demo. This is a live. This is a local server.
This is a local server. Okay.
SAP will not give you a live demo like this.
Okay.
They can give it to maybe their clients. Even the client, they don't give them live demo. They give them simulations.
Simulations, yeah. Okay, the one I did use with SAP Direct in the school through Learning Hub. I think it was a live simulation, yeah.
The simulation. They won't give you live database.
Okay.
So I'm trying to log into this, but while this comes up, so we can see the Fiori site, we're going to focus here. Most of the configurations happen in the GUI, while some of the end user activities, or most of the, and depending on the project you're in, if you're in a for example, the project I was in with the firm I work with, we're using the private cloud edition, so everything is Fiori, right? Some projects you will go, if you're doing the configuration, you will have GUI, but if you have no business with configuration, you're not even going to smell GUI. Even when they give you Fiori, they restrict you to the areas you're supposed to work on, right? So that's how it works. This takes some time to come up, so I'm going to I'm going to go back to my GUI. So in GUI, we have different bars, we have different work streams or different areas. So if you look at this is called the menu bar. And the menu bar has various menus. You have your menu, your SAP Workplace, user. So I'll just explain them. Edit, you have where you execute programs. Favorites, where you can customize your own tab, create your own favorite screens. Extra, where you look for technical names, you set up technical names, and you display documentations. System is where you do things like you create new GUI, you look at services, where you run jobs, and where you can also find tables, table maintenance, which is, like I said, is the back end. Then if you go to status, you can see the version of S4 you're running. Go to products version. Then if you go to installed products, you're going to see the year. So we're using S4 2020. Very, very recent. Of course, even the Fiori has its own version. So you can go through there to see some of the system information. Right. So after you've logged in, depending on the module you're working on. If I come to accounting, for example, and go to logistics. In logistics, you're going to see sales and distribution, and you're going to see the transactions in sales and distribution. In finance, you're going to also see the transactions. When you go to accounting and financial accounting, you're going to see the activities in finance. Then if you drill down further, you're going to see some informations that the users will be working on a day-to-day basis, right? Same thing for SD, where you can create, change, block customers, and the rest of them. So this is basically how to navigate through with your SAP. Also, another thing I need to explain is that you can see that there's what we call transaction codes in SAP. SAP is different from other applications in the sense that you can run transactions in 3 different ways. You can process your transactions. First, you can go through the menu part and drill down. So you can drill down. For example, I want to run this transaction called enter GL account. No. Let's say general posting. I have to drill down. I will have to go to accounting, financial accounting, document entry before I now see this transaction I want to run. When the transaction comes, what I need to do is to double click on it and to open up the screen you want to work on, where you can now provide the parameters. That's one way of executing transactions in SAP. If I go back, then you have all these buttons that you use to control your table. If I go back, if I don't have the time to go through this menu part, there's what we call the transaction codes. So transaction codes are used to run transactions without going through the menu path. So for example, I still want to open this document, but let me do something so we can learn that. So I'll still go back to finance. I want to run this document. You see, I cannot see the transaction code, what we call the technical names. We call transactions the technical names. I cannot see the technical names. In case you are the transaction code kind of person and you cannot find the technical names, you can go to extra settings. Then you will see a box here that we call technical names. You click on it and say, okay, system is going to close and try to open up again. And then you would find the technical name. So the technical name for this is called FB50. So instead of going through this long route to post this transaction, I can come to the command line or command bar here, just say FB50. It's going to open that same document you opened. So it's either you navigate through the transaction code or you navigate through the menu part. But because as a consultant, you would have a lot of transaction code, it's always very advisable you know your menu parts while you hold your transaction codes. In case you forget, you should be able to navigate your way. That's why I have an issue with people just learning SAP with transaction codes. It's a very shallow way of learning it. If you want to really learn SAP, you need to know your menu parts to some extent. Okay, so another way of doing this, instead of going through the menu part or putting the transaction code there, I can use what we call my favorites. So if there are transactions I use on a regular basis, and I don't want to always call them up, I just want to save them somewhere, I can go to my favorites and click on Insert Folder. I can call this folder GL transactions. Now say okay. So you see now I've created a path for myself. Then I want to add something inside this. I want to add this transaction code inside this folder. I can just right click on it and say insert transaction. Remember, first of all, go to favorites and insert folder. The next step is to right click on the folder and say insert transactions. If I insert transaction, I say FB50, that same transaction code I used, I say okay. You see it's already here. So if I want to process this transaction, instead of going through all this distance, I can easily come to my favorites. And if I don't also remember the transaction code, because there are a lot of codes to remember, I can always go to my favorites, open it, and run the transaction codes I want. So these are different ways. And of course, you have this, the next bar here, which we call the standard toolbar, that has all these options. This is to save. This is to go back. This is to exit. Once you put your cursor on the tab, it's going to explain what you want to do. This is to close. This is to go up. Next page, come down. And very importantly, you can work in SAP. You can open 6 different screens at the same time. So let's say here I'm running FB50. In the next screen, I want to run a sales transactions. So I'll go to logistics. Now you can see here now I have 2 screens. This is the first one. This is the second one. I'll go to sales and distribution. I'll go to master data. I'll go to business partner. Go to customer. I'll go to create. I can say VD01. Create customers. So you can see that I can be working, I can be working on these screens at the same time. So if I come here, I'm working here, and I come here, I'm working here. So you can work on 6 different multiple screens at the same time. How do you do that? Just either you go to system and say new GUI, or you use this icon here, new GUI. Any of them will take you through working on multiple screens. Then, of course, we have your title bar, which we can see, which has this SAP Easy Access, depending on how the configuration is. We have the application layer, which has this information where you have your business places. So SAP has its own internal emailing structure. So in organizations, right, they don't use the typical Gmail and company email. SAP has its own internal emailing system, where when you raise transactions, if it's to go for different approvals, we call it the SAP Business Workplace. So if I click on it, is this very tiny icon here? It has its own internal emailing system. So for example, if there is a workflow that when I generate an invoice, you should go for certain approval, the person is going to get an internal mail. You can see inbox. The person is going to get an internal mail. He will not get this mail in his Gmail or in his company official email. No, he's going to get it inside SAP's Business Workplace. And that's where he will either approve or reject, or do some other activities within the system. So when you activate a workflow, it will trigger that email. Of course, you can do set appointments. You can do a lot of this within the SAP Business Workplace. Right. So the next is, I've talked about the command bar where you put your transaction code. So in the command bar, you actually add your transaction codes there. The status bar, very, very important. The status bar is where you have transaction updates, right? So in the status bar here, you can see the session I'm running. You can see the client, you can see the user, you can see the program. So when I said we'll learn about the concept of program and tables, SAP uses runs on different programs. Then we have the transaction, there's the transaction code. Then we have the response time, every other information about this. Here we have the server we are using. Here, this INS this is inscription, this is overwrite. What this means is that if I'm typing on something, for example, right, I want to type this. If it's in overwrite, if I want to correct, if I go back and type, it will be wiping the previous one out. If it's instruction, you can go in the middle and make changes. But if it's in override, it will be trying to clean the one that is already existing when you're trying to type some stuff. So this is actually what the interface looks like. And of course, we're going to spend some time in the back. So you can see that the most popular transaction code for all consultants is the SPRO. If you can also get that through the menu part. For example, if you go to information system, let me see. Go to tools, go to customizing, go to IMG. You're going to see the transaction code SPRO. So it's either you're going through the menu part or you go to the command bar and put SPRO. When you click on SPRO, the the implementation guide, IMG means implementation guide. Please take note, SAP IMG there means your implementation guide. So if you click on the implementation guide, it's going to take you to the back. So this is where the configuration happens, while this is the front where SAP users stay. The end user and super users, they stay in the interface. The consultants go to the back and do the settings. So we have different modules here. You can see finance. You come down. You can see sales and distribution. You can see materials management. You can see logistics. You can see transport management, quality management, plant maintenance, production, and the rest of them. So we're going to end here today. Let me see if my Fiori is open. My Fiori is taking a lot of time. I don't know why, but the slowness is, I'll talk to them. Let me see if App Finder will open. Okay. Okay, I need to talk to them to populate some information here. I think the problem is that the informations are not yet populated. So I'll take a screenshot. So there's supposed to be some apps that are displaying here. So I will take a screenshot and basically let the team know that I'm having this difficulty with displaying the apps. So this is the Fiori side, and this is the GUI side. So so thank you guys. We're going to continue this journey hopefully tomorrow. We're going to begin with the configuration. Like we said, we're going to be using I'm just going to show you how it is done real life. When we'll just use a business blueprint, just refer to it. So let's say, for example, we have this business blueprint. No, this is not the let me see if I have something. Don't know where that blueprint is. Okay, no. This is requirement gathering questionnaire. So you can see stuff like, for example, do you have what company structure? Do you want to structure your company in one or two legal entities? Do you have foreign companies? Which company is going to work with the chart of accounts? In what currency? So this is what you use for requirement gathering. You use this when you ask questions, you get feedbacks. That's how you gather your requirements. So you have a questionnaire and you have different other I have a business blueprint here. I need to get that. Let me check. Should I have a business blueprint? Where is that blueprint?
Aside their business brief, that questionnaire, please, can you share with us, sir? Please.
No
So
problem.
help with our knowledge.
Also, Kelechi, I beg this meeting, can you send it to the WhatsApp group or this? Because I don't know how to transport it from the meeting here. The one you put in the meeting.
What's that?
The meeting,
Recording.
the recording.
Okay, if I
You
can do
send
what?
to email.
Send it to our this thing. To
You can
WhatsApp.
open it in your email now.
Okay.
Just click on it and open it. It's not a problem.
Okay.
Let me
But you have
see.
to send it, right?
Yeah, I'll send it. I've sent the other ones now.
Yes, I will receive them.
Yeah, the other ones we receive, but it's just this recording because he's telling me get the link. Wait.
Which one?
The one you send. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay.
You mean you have not been able to open it or what?
No, wait.
No, don't worry. Ignore the one that came into the meeting. Don't. He's going to send. He's going to send. Yeah.
So this is a typical blueprint, right? That has after requirement gathering, you have to now develop. They started interpreting from the requirements based on what the client has provided, so you can see the answers to the questions, right? So, do you have a structure? We only have one legal entity. Do you have foreign companies? No. Which company are going to work with the chart of accounts? Since there is only one company in this, only one chart of accounts. Are you seeing how it works?
Yeah.
So this is from here now. If I
Mm-hmm.
want to do configuration, I know that there is one company called this guy.
Yeah.
So I'll go here and go to configuration and begin to design. So that's how
the organizational structure. So if you have something like that.
Of course, all those questions are here.
Mm-hmm.
Legal entity is your structure.
Mm-hmm.
Is in which currency the transaction be posted? You now you have 5 currencies. You now have to go to SAP, customize, create 5 currencies. Make sure these 5 currencies are existing.
Mm-hmm.
So all these answers are what you will use for
the
you see the structure.
Mm-hmm.
The company, see company code, see company. They have told you that the company code will carry the nomenclature XYZL.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what you use as the company code. This is the company name. So that's why I said everything you do, you pick from the blueprint. You don't go outside the blueprint. So this is what it is. So business areas, they have given you their list of business areas. So if you want to configure business areas, you go here, go and look for business area.
In Spro.
Then just come. If you go to the structure, all those things are still within the structure. Go to definition, finance, you will see business area. So you will define this business area based on what they have given you here. So this is how it works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to give you that feel. Every configuration you pick step by step.
This business area, you have to create the 4 business area.
Yes, you design them in the system.
I think most of the time they advise that you copy the one SAP bring to you and change it to the customer specification.
It's not for well, a lot of configurations you need to copy, but some you need to create new. When the time comes, you're going to see how that works. So this is basically what happens. You just go through the business blueprint and do your configuration based on what is there. So this is chart of accounts. You answer all the questions. blah blah blah. You begin to, you see approximately 800. How many new natural accounts do you have? 800 other than vendor and customer. So they are telling you they have 850 ledgers. So by now they should have given you the Excel sheet of all the ledgers they have. You arrange it properly and you might not be able to create 851 after the other. You might have to now do migration. It's part of your data migration, things you will migrate. So guys, remember, for more learning, just go to my YouTube, go to the channel. There are some things, because we have limited time, there are some things I might not be able to explain, but things like data migration, transport, just connect to my YouTube channel, read more about them. It's also for your own good, so that when you have this, I even talked about RISE-Serve, Blueprint, transport. These are very, very good information you can leverage on. Introduction to SAP S/4HANA, and all that, right? So this is transport request. So take your time and enjoy yourself. You can connect and read more. So thank you guys. We're going to end here for today. So we're going to continue. We're going to continue tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll meet we're not going to stay this long. We have done approximately 3 hours from 6:15 to 9:25. Tomorrow we are going to do, please, timekeeper, you not keep me time today. We're busy enjoying the class. It's tomorrow.
30. Today, 30. That's what you said there.
As in, it's too long.
Yes.
If you leave me, I can keep talking. So that's why I like timekeeping.
My family member already told me I have to go and drop him somewhere already. So
no problem. So let's.
No problem.
Please, accurate timekeeper. Next tomorrow, 2 hours.
2 hours.
Okay, Kelechi, please, before you leave, I want to put something on the group. Like I told you, when we get to configuration part, we want us to look at it like a real-time project, right? I came up with something. This is just a background, like ABC company, this, that. Do you get? I also have a chart of account for this company. I also have, like, let's assume we are done with migration. We want to move the balances into
Calm down. Calm down. I'm going to guide you through this class because number one, we don't have all the time.
Okay.
We don't have all the time. Number two, we are using a sandbox. We're not using a live server. So some of these things we may not be able to do. But what I would do is that if I start the class, provide me with the data. If I ask you company code, provide me with the company code. If I ask you those questions, provide me with the data.
Accounts. Yes.
Yes, the chart of accounts, how we are going to group them.
Yes.
But it will be in line with our class. It will not go outside the scope.
No,
so we will do also sales distribution a bit too.
Yes. We'll do sales. We'll do integration. We'll create some of the org structure for sales.
Organization structure and then master.
Yes, we'll do that so that you experience it too.
I think I've done it before, so just want to.
Yeah, we'll touch it. Then O2C is a process that is you can always get that information. The internet is, in fact, if you have issues with, I think the most important thing is when you get this foundation, right? Study. There's a way you study. You have so much knowledge. Like you have so much.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, as well. I read SAP I read SAP every day. As I'm talking to you guys, I'm starting a job that would involve Chuku and Esther will have an idea. It involves product costing and profitability analysis. I'm supposed to do that in SAP. And product costing is the most very, very technical.
It's very
complex.
Labs to finance or what?
it's part of finance, but it's
No,
very
me,
complex.
I don't like finance. My husband is finance. I don't like finance at all.
It's very complex.
Mm.
But you see, those consultants are not much in the world.
Mm.
But because I'm going into this project and I'll be leading, I need to study it.
Mm.
So that's why I don't have time.
I know.
Right. So that's why when I say when people call me and say training, I told you I don't have that. My time is my asset.
Mm.
Right. Because if you want to know these things very well, like I shared some materials with I always get materials and I share them. You have to just keep. There's no day should pass without you looking at one thing about
No,
Yeah,
sure.
SAP that relates to
you love SAP with passion also, Kelechi. You know, if you love some, you love SAP like a powdered yam and a goosey soup now.
No be small.
You watch it.
I go do this thing till I reach 70 years. I need to go anywhere.
It's your passion, and that is what I like. Even when I went for this business trip inside Singapore, now Kelechi, the guy that did this blockchain.
Yeah.
The way the Indian guy was doing that, I said, David, you love blockchain too much. His eyes was shining, just as if he's toasting the woman he met for the first time. I was just looking at the guy, and I told him, David, but you love this blockchain. He said, Patience, how do you know? I said, I can feel it all over you. I can see it all over you.
But there are people that have passion for what they do.
Yeah. And for me, there is no, somebody said that if you have option B, you will not be very passionate. I don't have option B.
Yeah, I've noticed it already. You love it. I love SAP. I still love SAP past me. Kelechi like this. Like this thing.
Now, you have opportunity to get option B. But no, it's different. I don't know what your own option B is. So you're right.
No, my option B is to become a subject matter expert in what I'm doing. There's no other option.
Yeah, so it's very good. I like it when people love what they do. You understand? There's that passion to learn all the time. I like it. I said Kelechi is the second person I've met that love what is that. The Indian guy was the first person. The guy's eyes were shining and everything. It was all over him. And oh God, I said, I told him, I said, you love this blockchain? He said, yeah, part. I love it. Hyper ledger and everything. He's going all over the world to give presentation.
That's the thing. That's the thing. When Bible says a man's gift to make way for him, he doesn't have any other. Really, if you do one thing, and just do that one thing, put all your life inside that one thing, there's a very high probability you.
So I like it when people love what they do. You understand? No grumbling and everything because you do it with passion and it makes you to know more. Give time now. You give your time to what you love now. If you just be like on a man now, if I no love on a girlfriend, I no go give her time. I go lie say I dey go one place and this